Well, hello, and welcome to Let's Talk About It Tuesday! Yes, we are here to talk about it with you. Well, what's the subject today? Soul Talk. Did I do that right? That was perfect. So, what Soul Talk is a book by Larry Crabb. And we are discussing just little bits of it in bite-sized pieces because it's quite a concept that I think personally is a little deep. A little very. And so it takes a while to really, just grasp. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about because we have been working on this very first concept for a while. Remember that from the last Let's Talk About It Tuesday? We talked about think beneath to the battle. And this is getting us stumped still. Yeah, exactly. But I think that I have some tidbits to share that might be helpful in trying to just breach this, as she said, very first step in the process of soul talk. So, this is the book by Larry Crabb. And I do have some quotes today, but the majority of the bulk of that are going to be quotes from the Bible. So I think we're good. Copyright stuff. Okay. So what I want to get to is just this. What is the battle? Okay, we're going to think beneath the stuff that's more on the surface to what's the battle? Well, there's a part in the book, the next section that's subtitled The Real Battle in Our Soul, okay? But what I want to skip, instead of putting it in Larry Crabb's words, we're going to see what he says about this biblically a little bit. Sounds like a good plan. Can I read? Yes. Okay. Okay, so this is taken from, it looks kind of like a newer translation, because it's kind of jivey talking. No, listen, you'll see what I mean. Jesus. So this first part is not a quote from the Bible, it's a quote from Larry Crabb, okay? Let's get that straight. Okay. Jesus looks out across modern culture over the crowds gathered in places of worship, in big arenas, at conference centers, into the faces of people meeting around board tables, in living rooms, at coffee shops, and with a breaking heart, filled with hope, he says. Now this is the quote, and I'm quoting from Matthew 11:28-29. Are you tired? Worn out? Burned out? I know this sounds like an ad on TV, but it's in the Bible. Look it up. Burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me. And you'll recover your life. Remember, that's in Matthew 11:28-29. Wow. That sounds like a big relief. That sounds like he's talking to a lot of different people in our world today, in lots of common places that we're searching. And what did he say? Are we burned out on religion? Okay, I'll read the next scripture that he's referencing. And just to introduce that, he says, they were too busy. Oh, because years earlier in the Old Testament times he talks about the same thing was happening. God had been watching his people gather for worship. And in Larry Crabb's words, he saw how determined they were to make their lives work. And no one was enjoying him. So he says they were too busy trying to live religiously so that their lives would go well. In exasperation, he cried out. Here's a quote from Malachi 1:10. Why doesn't one of you just shut the temple doors and lock them? Then none of you can get in and play at religion with this silly, empty-headed worship. I'm not pleased. Wah, wah, wah. Yeah, really, in a big way. Wow. So God not being pleased is not good. Not good. I can say that again. Not good. Not right. Right. Remember to join us if we get a video in this time for That's Not Right Thursdays. So then, this scripture, now what Larry Crabb does is he puts that scripture in his words, and I would like to go ahead and quote him one more time. If he were speaking directly to our culture today, I think, of course, this is his imagination, but I think he does a good job. I think he would say, put programs and bigness and your moral outrage where they belong, in second place. When they occupy first place in your heart, I find them detestable. I hate them. So first he's not pleased, and he hates, that's basically because he's he's elaborating on that scripture. So he's saying, I hate that stuff. I'm not pleased. Can't you see the real battle going on in the human soul? Wake up! Cock-a-doodle-doo! It's a heart problem. My people want something, more than they want me. And it's ruining them. Their efforts to make life work are wearing them out and carrying them further and further from me. And I'm their only hope, their only source of rest and joy. Enter the battle. Learn to speak with power into people's lives. Arouse their desire for me until their thirst for me consumes them. When they get away with me, they'll recover their lives. The battle is for the heart. The battle is in the soul. I thought, now that really punches it. We're wondering, what is the battle? The battle can be so, it's all the stuff, but what it really is putting that stuff before God in first place, right? And the battle is getting it out of there, It's getting it out of there. First in us, so that we can communicate something that's from the Spirit to others. And that will help to find the battle and do battle with others by giving them words of life. Okay. So I know I'm trying to find lots of different ways to say this just so it really sinks in, because I know how hard it kind of has been for me to grasp. At the very close of his chapter that is entitled, sorry, not entitled, but titled. Let me see what the very first. There's lots of subtitles. We're talking about in this chapter also that there's a desire to be known that we all have, and how many of us really do have they're saying, a safe person, a person who's interested in who we are, in our lives. And we have to see that in and of itself is something that that people commonly and universally, I should say, are looking for. And so we have to know that these things are, God is the only one who is going to satisfy that, but it's going to come through people, and it's going to come through this ability to speak to people's hearts and souls and hear them. So he says it's, hearts are not changed, or hearts that have been changed by the Spirit at conversion to Christ are not released. And what does a released heart feel like? That's what I'd like. I was like, that sounds wonderful. And I started to wonder what it would look like. Now, when I think of a heart being released, I think of true love, right? And in our culture, speaking of our culture, a holiday that just passed, or we can't really call it a holiday, but a special date that we celebrate is like Valentine's Day, and we celebrate romantic love. And I think it's a good time to really actually think about, if we were to think of what love feels like, even though we know that love isn't a feeling, it's a person. Actually, a lot of times we say it's an action, but it's a person, and the character or actions of that person. Okay. But if we were to think of, or how that person expresses themselves, because God is love. And, but if we were to think about how love feels, I think it would feel like your heart being released. Yeah. And then why are the hearts not being released? I am also thinking about by true love. Well, Larry Crabb says it's because we are not fighting the real battle going on in the human soul, because we do not see the real battle. Okay. So that's when we have to think of these scriptures that I just talked about. Like, are you worn out by doing all this religious stuff yet? Because that's the battle, is that we need to see it to be able to go in and change it, knock it out. So, are you asleep over there? Oh, sorry. Oh, were you talking about love? Yeah, not that romantic kind, though. Oh, good. Okay, where were we? Well, we're kind of wrapping it up, and I am going to do that with one last, let me guess. And you're going to call this a quote, right? Yeah. Okay. One more sentiment, or we'll say quote by Larry Crabb. We're talking about the spirit, right? We're talking about how the spirit is what helps us get down to where we're thinking beneath to the battle. And he says, thanks to the same spirit, we are becoming more frustrated with every formulaic strategy. That's what we would a lot of times call religion. Whether a method of prayer or a set of principles that promises to fill the void. Shallow solutions to bigger battles are losing their appeal, and the solutions that seemed so rich are being exposed as shallow. We're beginning to realize that the journey is not about getting our act together in prayer retreats or counseling sessions or any place else. It's about dropping our masks and facing the terror of living in a world without solutions to our biggest problems, and then seeing that we belong to a different world. Then wholeness sneaks up on us. End quote. Yes. Thanks for helping me with that. Very nice entrance. So, you're welcome. I hope that some of this, some of my reflection, but a lot of my reading too, quoting from the Book of Soul Talk is helping you to see what looking beneath to the battle is, okay? And what that looks like. And it starts, again, like I said, it starts with us battling it out in ourselves before we can even get to the battle with someone else, right? And seeing what they're battling with, particularly maybe. Maybe for them, it's a little bit different than for us, but it's still the same thing. It's still putting something in first place and not seeing God fully rather than keeping it in second place, because it may be a good thing, but it's not a first thing. And if it becomes a first thing, then we are doing everything we can to, again, make our lives work rather than to know God and desire God and to see what He has for our lives, right? And to be thrilled with that. So do you get that? Did you straighten it out a little bit? I think I did this week. I think I got something from, how it's really important to be heard. Yeah. And that we really desire that from others, and we actually can get it. We gotta know that we have it from God. And it is important for us to express the heart of God. That is true love. Not all this lovey, romantical stuff that everybody thinks is so great. Yeah. So, think about it, okay? Because we can do it. We can talk soul talk and speak to each other's souls and really take the mask off and be seen. Well said. I appreciate that. Thank you. And now with that said, arrivederci.